It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is September 22nd. It's a Monday, TGIM, and this is the Bravo man, I can't talk this morning. The Bravo block, the B block. And as John says, when I go into the B block, he sings. What do you sing, John?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
Man, right on top of that today. Yes, it is Brad's Top 3. Ladies, one more time.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
Thank you so much. And we started off with...
It's number 3.
John thinks he knows my top 3. Is this by any chance Palestinians in the MIzzou homecoming parade? Is this one of the things you're going to do?
No, what's going on there, Brad?
There is a court battle that was won recently. The Palestinians petitioned to be in the MIzzou homecoming parade, and they were denied. And they sued, and they won. So the
No way, Brad. Are you serious?
Yes. Do you don't know about this? You know about this. This is in your...
This has been on my website. I've just brought it up, Brad. Wednesday, September 17th, Friday, September 19th,
right. Saturday,
September 20th. All news stories about the Palestinians and the MIzzou homecoming. Tell us about it, Brad.
John, you know what? Here we go again. This is frustrating to me because, first off, I don't give a poop about homecoming parades. And it seems as though the MIzzou homecoming parade has been... shall we say, home to a lot of controversy in the past. Remember the infamous, what was the lady? She got sort of a nickname.
Was it Melissa Glick? It was something like that.
Yeah, the professor, the what I found interesting, the journalism professor, when the kids had the what they call it, what was the term for what they did? They had their little city they built on the campus, and you couldn't come into their city. What was that? Occupy MIzzou or whatever. Remember what I'm talking about, John?
Yeah, Occupy. And there was some black group that was bad about stuff about like in 2014 or something like that. Yeah.
Well, but the interesting point of it was the MIzzou professor who was with these students when some student journalist tried to come in and interview. She was going, "You get out of here!"
And she said, "I need some muscle over here." Her name was Melissa Glick.
Right.
So picture what you would stereotype out of central casting of an angry feminist college type. That was her.
And then she showed up at the MIzzou homecoming parade and had another confrontation. That's when they fired her. They got her out of there. Okay, to me, it's like, come on. I mean, that would be like, what I don't understand about this is, let's be honest, there aren't a lot of people now who are behind the Palestinians. I think if you brought a random group of 100 people together, there would maybe be, 3 or 4 people say, yeah, we love those Palestinian people, you know?
Yeah, maybe. But Brad, you get a great deal of joy out of pointing out your lack of understanding about anti-Semitism. And I think there's some folks who are pro-Palestine who do it on pure policy and ideological reasons. And then I think there's some segment of that group that probably is a little bit anti-Semitic.
My father has been gone for 23 years. My father was a decorated World War II hero. My father fought the Nazis in Europe, fought the Nazis, and he fought the Nazis because of the fact that a lot of different things. First off, they were trying to take over Europe, but most importantly, they were killing off the Jews. And I don't understand how some people have forgotten this lesson, that there are religions that have been persecuted through the centuries, through the decades, and in past last century, and why we don't see this happening again. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And not only that, it comes down to my newfound belief of I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a conservative, I'm not a liberal, I'm an American. And you know what? An American can encompass Jewish Americans, Catholic Americans, Lutheran Americans, Palestinian Americans, Arab Americans. I don't care. We're all the same thing. We're all Americans. Get what I'm saying, John?
I do. And is there a way that you could tie this back to story number 3 there, Brad? What does that have to do with the parade?
Well, first off...
So do you have an opinion on it? Or do you just say I'm an American? Like, should students for justice in Palestine be allowed in the homecoming parade or not? Yes or no?
I don't think that a homecoming parade should be the basis for political people in the homecoming parade. I don't think there should be Democrats in the homecoming parade. I don't think there should be Republicans in the homecoming parade, Palestinians in the homecoming parade, Jewish people in the homecoming parade. I think what needs to be in the homecoming parade is students celebrating the homecoming of MIzzou. That's what I think. A couple
get it.
bands.
Isn't that, I'm not sure. Excuse me. I'm not sure which piece you read read, Brad. But isn't that the quote from former Post-Dispatch honcho Christopher Ave? As a spokesman for MIzzou, or the University of Missouri system, doesn't he say, we're taking a little different approach this year and we're not allowing political groups?
But see, I agree with that, and that's why I brought it up. I agree with that 100%. This should be apolitical. This is MIzzou homecoming. It's celebrating the alumni who've graduated, coming back to their alma mater and saying, "Yeah, boy, what is it fun getting drunk down at Harpo's and blah blah blah." You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you, Brad. I get it. Now you know as well as I do. First of all, I thought the Ave quote when he said, "Look, we're taking a new approach. We're not going to allow political groups." I thought that was smart of MIzzou to do.
Yes,
you could see how a group that's called We're MIzzou Tigers against oppressive patriarchy. We're not political.
Yeah,
We're
right.
just cat women who like to drink wine and take Zoloft to solve our problems. They could say that they're not political either.
I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of it.
Is that because you're a Chinese communist or because you're an American, Brad?
I'm an American, John.
Okay,
I'm
I
an
wasn't sure what you
American.
were.
And you know what? I have to tell you, once that I've risen above the fray, and I'm going like, you know what? You guys can fight it out beneath me. I'm just way up here. I just look down at you people. Oh, look at you poor people.
It's definitely a great decision, Brad, to put yourself above political debate and not participate in it, and then let the crazy people actually influence the policy. So that's the joy, Brad, of you being an American and saying you're above it, is you're letting crazy people make all the decisions. Good job, Brad.
You're welcome, John.
Just leave the process and leave it to crazy people. That's a good decision.
Well, and would you not consider people of both stripes, the Republicans and Democrats, as crazy people?
Absolutely, I would, Brad. And you know what? People would be crazy to not go into story number 2 right now.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
And unfortunately, I'm going to mention, John has already foreshadowed this in the A block. I'm going to mention my former professor of journalism, Camille Winter, a refugee from Czechoslovakia. Literally, he was a government official. He was like the media director in Czechoslovakia, chased out of the country by the Russians as they invaded Czechoslovakia to make it a Soviet satellite republic, whatever you want to call it. And he became a dyed-in-the-wool super journalism guy who I learned a lot from. Okay? And I'm going to invoke number 2, what Brad talks about all the time, the pendulum swinging, okay? Couple things happened last week, and the one thing that probably bothered me the most is involving the Pentagon. Do you know this story, John?
No, I don't.
The Pentagon, I don't know if this is Hegseth or something like that, but supposedly there is a new document that reporters who are working in and around the Pentagon have to sign, which essentially is affirming their loyalty to not report anything that's not approved to be reported about. So in other words, they're essentially telling the reporters, you can only talk about things that we give you permission to talk about.
Yeah, I did see this, Brad. So that's, to use a Democrat word, that's a bit chilling, wouldn't you say?
I say again that the pendulum swings, and we have a situation where the Democrats do crazy stuff. Now the Republicans do crazy stuff. The stuff last week, and there's a lot more that's come out about the Jimmy Kimmel thing. I don't know if you've heard the crazy story that supposedly he was given the chance to come back on the air, and the reason they did what they did is they said, look, you need to come on the air, you need to apologize. He said, I'm not apologizing. If anything, I'm going to tell more. So they said that was it. And the other thing that's problematic to me is not only Trump, but Brendan Carr saying, well, if these people don't toe the line, we're just going to refuse to renew their licenses and that kind of stuff. Okay, first off, can I say a couple things about that? And this is sort of inside baseball, but broadcast kind of stuff, okay?
Yeah, does it have to do with the FCC? You know a lot about this stuff, Brad.
Yes, unfortunately, I know too much. There's a part of this story that not too many people have touched on, that the big organization Nexstar, company Nexstar, which owns in our market here Channel 2 and Channel 11, they are merging with Tegna. And Tegna owns Channel 5. And if you know what Tegna is a spinoff from Gannett, which was the newspaper company. They own TV stations all over the country, and they spun their TV business off in the separate group called Tegna, which is sort of ha-ha, funny. If you rearrange the letters of Tegna, you get Gannett. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's what the whole deal was.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Oh, wow, Brad. That's interesting.
Yes, that's what they did. They essentially mixed up the letters and came up with a new company name. Okay. The problem is, and this is why I'm not real wild about the whole thing with Brendan Carr, there's a rule in the FCC rules and regulations that state that there's an ownership cap for the number of network television affiliates around the country that one group can own, and that cap is 39% of the population. In other words, if I think Nexstar is right at that right now. So in other words, they have their cap. So they can only own the stations they have right now, which effectively reach 39% of the American population. But if they are allowed to take over and buy out Tegna, they would now reach 80% of the American population, essentially dominating the entire country. I saw what happened to the radio business when the FCC threw off the rules and regulations, and it got to the point where once upon a time, when I first got in the radio business, a licensee like CBS or RCA or Westinghouse could only own 14 stations around the entire country, 7 AM and 7 FM, and you couldn't own 2 AMs and 2 FM, or 2 AMs or like 2 FMs in a market. You have to own like 1 AM and 1 FM. And back in the day, you had CBS owning KMOX AM, KMOX FM. I think this is terrible. This is horrible, because what this does is it's going to turn the TV business into what's happened in the radio business, where you got these big monster companies that control everything. And already you've seen the impact of what Sinclair has done. Remember that deal where they came out with that thing and their people put the little news snippets together, where Sinclair gave a script to all of their TV stations to read, and it was some, Sinclair is a very conservative organization. They gave the script to all the anchors all over the country, and they had to read this one story that was prepared by Sinclair. I find that abhorrent. And the reason, supposedly, people are saying, is that Nexstar got rid of and pushed Jimmy Kimmel, and ABC is not pitching a fit about this, is because of the fact that they want to have this merger go through, and they want Brendan Carr to essentially wave his magic regulatory wand and say, yeah, that 39% rule, we're just going to throw that out the window. And I give another example of this, which is very problematic to me. I don't know if you remember this, John, but when they started satellite radio, do you remember there were two companies? Do you remember this, John?
Yeah, there was Sirius and XM.
Right. And both of the companies, after a while, came out and said, you know what? We misjudged the economic impact of satellite radio. We don't think two companies can make a go of it. We think there should only be one company. And they went to the FCC and they say, you know what? Your rules state that there's two licensees. We just want to merge. And the FCC folded. Okay, fine, you guys can merge. It reminds me of back in the day, and John, I don't know if you remember this or not, when all the casino companies came to St. Louis, and they say, or actually came to the state of Missouri, and they said, you know what? We're going to put riverboats in the river, and we're going to make cruises, and people can only stay for 2 hours because they're going to get on the dock.
And it has to be on a moving body of water.
Right.
Only has to be on a river.
Right. And then one day, the riverboat companies came out and they said, oh my God, we just realized that these boats are out there in the river, and they could hit like a submerged piece of wood, or they could hit like a sandbar, or they could hit a bridge, and this could be dangerous. We don't think it's right that these boats should be on the river. Get what I'm saying, John?
I get exactly what you're saying. You know what? They should just take Westplex Talk and they should rearrange the letters and make a brand new station. That's what I think.
There we go. You ready for number one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
I'm going to say something about Charlie Kirk that no one has said.
Oh,
And
what is it, Brad?
I'm telling you. I'm going to tell you something. And when I tell you this, you are going to say, Brad, you have incredible insight. You were exactly right. All the things that Charlie Kirk has been applauded by, all the different attributes of his life and what he did and things like that, there's one huge thing that not one person said about Charlie Kirk. You know what that is?
What's that, Brad?
He's the king of networking.
Oh, wow. Okay. And tell us more. What do you mean by that, Brad?
Okay. since Charlie Kirk has been assassinated, how many people have come out and said, Charlie Kirk's my friend. I talk to him all the time. Back in the day, I don't know if you're old enough, John, you might have when you first got into corporate America. Do you remember people on their desks having a Rolodex? Do you remember this, John?
I do, yeah, an old-timey thing. A lot of folks born after 2000 have no idea what a Rolodex is.
A Rolodex is this little thing that had a big knob on it. It had a bunch of these cards that had two little notches in it. And what you do is it had like the alphabet on that. And what you did was you pulled a little card off. And when you made a contact with somebody, you pulled a blank card out and you wrote down their name and their phone number. Back in the day, there was no email address. There was no web address. Their name, their address, and their phone number, which were important things to have. And the running joke was the person that had the most people in his Rolodex was the person who was going to win because he had the most number of contacts, okay? Can you imagine Charlie Kirk's phone book, what is his contact list in his phone? Can you imagine anybody who has more important people on their contact list than Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, absolutely not, Brad. And we saw that certainly with after his death. And you and I talked about it immediately after his death because we even joked about the fact that every time someone passes, people that only tangentially knew the guy said that they were best friends with them or that, oh, we were such good friends, which is natural when someone passes, right? Or when someone gets a big award. We joked about that on the air. But yeah, it appears as though, Brad, the number of stories that I've heard from folks who I know who were genuinely friends/acquaintances with them is remarkable.
Yes. And although some, I think, have pushed it a little bit too far, I won't say who this person was. And there's a possibility that this could be true, but I doubt if it was. As a guy I heard over the weekend say, and this is like a high-ranking government official, I won't say who it is. He says, I have been friends with Charlie for 15 years, okay? Charlie was 31. Let's take 31 and minus 15. That gives us 16. This guy knew Charlie Kirk when he was like a sophomore in high school?
Yeah, I mean, maybe and I know who you're talking about because I heard that same interview and I linked to it over the weekend. Folks can find it on the Saturday edition of johncombest.com. And yeah, the gentleman who said that, I believe him. I believe he knew Charlie since Charlie was in high school.
Do you really believe that, though?
Yeah, absolutely. If you knew, do you know what Charlie Kirk was doing in high school?
I do know what he was doing in high school.
Okay, so and you know the gentleman that we heard on a St. Louis radio station, a popular feature, you know what that gentleman was doing circa 2004 to the end of the 2010s?
I understand, John, but I find it hard to believe. And in C Block, what brought this to my sharp attention was something that happened to me immediately after the show on Friday. And if you want to talk about this in C Block, we're over right now. Let's carry this over into C Block because this is what I find to be fascinating because I experienced something firsthand on Friday which opened my eyes. And I was supposed to have an interview with one of the people I met on Friday morning, and they never called me back to confirm. And I think one of two things happened. Either this is a high school person, either A, they were told not to do an interview with me, or B, they're afraid, and I'm not sure which one it is, but that's one of the two. So anyway, I'll talk about this in C Block, which I think is very important because I personally doubt the fact that this dude knew Charlie Kirk when he was 16. But that's
and I have it up in 2010. Charlie Kirk was founding Turning Point USA, and the friend of mine, Brad, was deeply involved in Missouri Republican activities and actually knew Charlie Kirk then.
Well,
and I can text him if you want me to.
Maybe I'm wrong, but see, here's the interesting thing: John falls right into this whole thing. He's part of what I'm talking about. Okay?
Oh, thank you, Brad. I take the compliment.
Okay, we have to take a break.